Here at the Gladstone Pottery Museum, three pots tell the story of clay in the potteries. From the red clay teapot of the 1760s to the whiteware of ball clay strengthened with flint, and finally to the china clay of bone china perfected 2 centuries later. The story begins with red firing clay, the natural marl of North Staffordshire. Early potters like Thomas Wheeldon and John Astbury shaped it by hand, glazing it with lead to make it watertight.
Pottery has been made in North Staffordshire since the 16th century. At that time, farmers made butter pots and other domestic wares to supplement their earnings from the soil. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, many of today's well-known firms were producing fine wares.
It was easy to dig, rich in iron and fired to a warm red or brown. Etruria marl, rich in iron oxide, continued in the 19th century to be used for tiles and bricks. Marl, less rich in iron, was also the staple clay used for making saggers to protect all pottery from flames firing in a bottle oven,
before being taken to be joined to the base. The sagger was then ready for drying. After biscuit firing, the ware is decorated. Decoration takes several forms. Earthenware is often dipped in a single coloured glaze or decorated with a simple pattern in slip. Atmospheric pollution hung like a pall over everything, over pot banks and masters' and pottery workers' houses alike.
This continued when Josiah Wedgwood discovered and secured white ball clay in Purbeck, Dorset in 1771 and Kingstainton, Devon in 1791. Large quantities were ordered by a syndicate of potters from Stoke-on-Trent. A new local industry was created.
The production then from the mines was got out by hand picks. The men used to swing them over their shoulder, a right-handed man over his left shoulder, a left-handed man over his right shoulder, and that's how the clay was produced. And they'd wear out the tools in a matter of an hour, so the corners would go off and make them rounded instead of a sharp, pointed corner. After they was rounded, they was pretty well useless. You couldn't do anything with them. You might as well throw them away. You had to take up another one, a fresh, what we used to call dressed pick, and the corners was as sharp as a needle, and they'd shine brilliant. And the shovel was just the same.
We've been talking about output per man per day in the mines. You'll get one mine with perhaps a very, very hard clay. In that case, they may vary from 8 to 10, 12 wagons per day per man, whereas you'll get another mine with a very soft plastic clay, which is much easier to cut, no shoveling to do, easy to load in the wagons. Well, he can get 15 to 20 wagons per day.
Brian, I think if you take all that the wagon now, look sharp, bring back out.
Early mines on the surface quickly gave way to deeper pits.
Our food.
Lighting would have been by candle before electricity and the invention of power tools. These clays are sedimentary in origin and formed about 45 million years ago. Ball clay was in thin seams and cut into rectangular blocks using spades. In short, it was manual, small-scale, deep-pit mining, labour-intensive and dirty work. Clays were often packed in wooden casks or blocks and taken by horse and cart to nearby river wharves at Poole, Wareham and Teignmouth. Later, narrow-gauge railways took the place of the horse and cart. Clays were transported by coastal sailing ships to Runcorn, Liverpool, and finally by the Trent and Mersey Canal to the potters in Stoke-on-Trent. 100 years after the exploitation of ball clay, China clay or kaolin and China stone were discovered by William Cookworthy in Cornwall in about 1748. By the 1780s, 90s, China clay was being shipped commercially from Cornwall to Staffordshire, allowing factories like Spode and Minton to develop the English bone china in the early 1800s. China clay works were bright white landscapes, open hillsides that were mined using blasting and water jets. This created extensive channels and waste tips. They resembled quarries rather than mines. The process relied on gravity washing. Clay and waste granite, such as sand and mica, were sluiced through settling pits or tanks. The resulting slurry was allowed to settle and then dried in pan kilns.
The clay was brought into the kiln in tipper wagons and then spread over the heated floor. A traversing bridge could take the wagons along the entire length of the kiln to assist with spreading. It took a day for the clay to dry at the furnace end of the kiln and 3 days or more towards the chimney end. The process remained much the same for over 100 years, until faster methods of drying were developed in the 1950s.
In short, China clay and China stone were the result of large-scale open-cast hydraulic mining with sophisticated washing and refining systems. Horse-drawn tramways and later narrow-gauge railway moved the dried clay to ports like Charleston or Foy for export. But they still had to get to Stoke-on-Trent by canal from Liverpool. This narrowboat at Middleport Pottery is just like those that carried Cornish clay from Runcorn to the Potteries along the Trent and Mersey Canal. The boatman and his family lived on board, working for themselves, tendering for business, and were paid only by the ton they delivered. The family cooked, slept, even raised children in the cabin at the stern. China clay was kept in the open in yards at potbanks and kept free from contamination. This is an image taken at the Spode Works in Stoke, the pottery where bone china was successfully developed.
And then around about 1799 or something like that, Josiah Spode the first, just before then, he'd been working on developing a bone china body, which was a purer form of bone porcelain. And I think he is given the credit for the introduction of bone, but actually, of course, he didn't. It was introduced by Thomas Fry in 1744, but what he did do was eliminate the glass-forming ingredients of the glaze and the pottery, so that it became a wholly raw material. They used something like 50% of bone ash, 25% of Cornish stone, which is a feldspathic stone, and 25% of Cornish China clay. And that was mainly the basis of the bone china formula. And that became very popular because it was much easier to fire. It fired straight, and he could use a standard earthenware oven, only just fire it about 100 degrees centigrade higher than earthenware. And eventually bone china evolved to the point where other manufacturers gave up porcelain and made bone china.
From the red clay beneath our feet to the kaolin shipped from Cornwall, these three clays built the potteries. Each represents a step in the English pursuit of ceramic perfection, turning earth into art. If you enjoyed this clip or found it useful, please click the like button and do subscribe for more videos on the ceramic heritage of Stoke-on-Trent. Thanks for watching.